watery coffee with rice, stale bread, just like a true cheapskate. Hi, it's me, Andrzej, and Tobias is shy because he'd rather be behind the camera than be Tobias. We came here to test the Triumph Scrambler 1200, which we were literally excited about just a few days ago at the trade show. And you know what? The test is divided into two parts. The first part is on asphalt. Right now, we're in the asphalt section. What did we do? Right away, we buried it in the sand. A scrambler is a scrambler. We want to take some nice photos, but what's there? We'll dig it out somehow in a moment anyway. I'll tell you this, the first impressions are really alright. Listen, let's start with what I said at the trade show. How Triumph bikes are made. It's honestly damn world-class craftsmanship. I really like it, but it's exactly what I noticed. Also, look, bye! So that the handlebars turn. Good, right? Yeah, I like that. It's like a little workshop. We're assembling the bike. They're looking, oh man, damn, dude, what a bike. I mean, it's really beautiful. We made the bike, this tank, everything. The guy sits down, turns the handlebars to the right and says, oh man, that's a miss. All right, that'll get hammered out, right? And here you see they hammered it out. But overall, I don't know. Can you remember any other bike that's made this nicely? Really, everything is here. Top quality. And first impressions on the asphalt. The first impressions are that this bike is probably going to be one of our favorites this year. Because you give it gas and it goes. You brake and it stops. The electronics, so far everything works. We haven't hit any tight corners yet to really push it through turns. But I'll tell you that 21-inch front wheel isn't going to be a problem at all. It doesn't really limit you in any special way. If the rider knows what they're doing, they'll be able to take this bike through corners with no problem. Like crazy. Especially, I think, thanks to the suspension. Because what makes me happiest so far is the suspension. Because you ride over bumps, dips, uneven surfaces, no problem. It stabilizes super quickly, this bike. You don't feel the bumps at all. The suspension works really fast. It's cool. Let's continue our journey riding smoothly on the paved asphalt surface. And then at the appropriate moment, we will transition and take it off-road to perform all of these exciting activities there. Please observe here too for additional details. These little clips, everything. But that's cheating. Seriously, look here. All right, but I can forgive that. When everything looks so nice, I can let that slide. I don't know how to do this. Oh, plastic. But what? And it looks cool. I prefer it this way than if it were all plastic. It was supposed to be a premiere test of this Triumph.
But instead, we were invited to an enduro test, and quite a tough one at that.
We were actively exploring the world of scramblers.
A powerful scrambler with a 1200cc engine in the XE specification.
Exactly. But listen, at the beginning you saw that the motorcycle was standing on the edge of the Bondowska Desert, but we couldn't actually ride in there, you know, we just rolled it in for a photo. But then we moved to this place, we don't know what it's called, but it's actually pretty funny. And this motorcycle was supposed to be kind of a support bike, you know, just to ride somewhere and take some photos. But it turned out that this little donkey, the street scrambler, isn't bad at all.
What's more, at the very beginning of today, I thought I'd only be fighting over the Scrambler 1200X because, first of all, it's got knobby tires. Second, it has great suspension for off-road. Third, the riding position, the handlebars themselves, and the seat is more enduro style. But after an hour or two, I don't even know how long we've been here. The mule. I ended up on the mule, and listen, I ended up not just sitting on the mule, but under it. As you can see, the ride was quite tough, hard, and demanding.
I keep telling myself, because on this one, it's so high and so serious. When I was riding it really fast on such a bumpy road, everything was great. But when we started tackling the climbs, well, you're not afraid on this thing. Look, you're like this. And if anything happens, you just do this. And then, you know, throttle and like this. And it truly sounded like you genuinely wanted to, right? Well, cut off the... Because the terrain here is a bit tough for it. We really pushed it today.
No, the terrain really wasn't
suitable.
The terrain was totally unsuitable for these bikes, and since we're not exactly normal, we brought these bikes here and started riding them. We started doing some serious climbs, really serious climbs. These bikes handled it, although I think they were getting a bit hot.
Exactly, because they were overheating a bit. The radiators aren't very big, and they're just not made for this. Besides, the ground here is really hard and it rains, so it was super slippery, which made it really hard to get any traction. Nevertheless, when it comes to riding over bumps and rough terrain, I really like it. And what's cool is these brakes, look. These are the brakes. M50, that's what they were called, right? Yeah, that's what they're called. Damn, that's what they're called. These are the same Brembos as in the Super Duke, as in the Panigale. These are practically the most powerful brake calipers you can buy. And off-road, they provided enough feel that even without ABS, even when we turned everything off, you could still control the braking.
There are a few available options, viable option, another distinct option, and a third, even more important option, Off-Road Pro.
And everything turned off because electronics help off-road, meaning you can lock the rear and you can slide a bit. And the traction control also allows for some sliding, but if you're in this kind of terrain, it has to be Off-Road Pro. Everything turned off. Throttle all the way, and I can see you're gonna have a blast here because the brakes get really hot on these bikes. Yes, that can happen, but look, can you change the modes? Because we'll show it here. Simple. Come on, show it, because this is funny. I've already said that these gauges are kind of funny, classic.
Riding modes, Missouri DS setup, trips, display setup DM, DM2, and now we have the DM2. At first, we were a little bit worried that it would be completely unreadable, especially when exposed to direct sunlight. This was a significant concern for us. But it turns out that the DM2 option works just fine, proving to be entirely functional and is actually quite visible, offering clear and immediate feedback to the rider. In fact, I even feel like it's practically impossible to ride slowly with it engaged, as its characteristics inherently encourage a more dynamic and spirited pace. It kind of stirs up some sort of intense, almost primal, totally aggressive emotions within you, pushing you to constantly seek higher speeds and more exhilarating performance. It subtly yet powerfully puts something in your head, an undeniable urge that makes you feel like you have to go full throttle all the time, pushing the limits of the machine and your own capabilities. This constant drive for maximum speed and power could ultimately lead to a very specific and perhaps even dangerous riding style, always on the edge, always pushing for more, potentially impacting safety and control in various riding conditions.
It will end well because it has good tires, all the ABS systems, and very reasonable drivers, usually. Because if someone can afford a motorcycle like that, then they're not. He must be smart because he has to earn money unless he was born into money and can afford to wreck bikes like that. Then he'll just ride them, crash them, and what? He'll be happy too. Hopefully, he doesn't crash into other people, and that's it.
Actually, today, we were talking about how this bike could be the only motorcycle in my garage. We always talk about having one bike, another for off-road, another for touring, but it turns out you can have a really good time with just this one.
I've already said that. I've already said that about the KTM 690, but today I've changed my mind a bit. My opinion. I mean, it would be a tough decision. It's either the KTM 690 Enduro R, but damn, just to ride somewhere in style, honestly, it's so much more enjoyable to ride than other bikes. You just get on and ride the motorcycle. That's one blanket. The second is two. But here we are, standing and talking about motorcycles. Anything else? I don't know.
It's really fun to ride these motorcycles. You'll see it in the photos in the magazine, because it turns out that these heavy motorcycles can lift off the ground very easily and willingly, and they land safely.
Yes, the suspension absorbs. Oh, actually, in both of them, surprisingly, this one has a short travel, but the suspension absorbs bumps quite decently. And this one does wheelies. It does wheelies in second gear with the throttle.
Does it have two spark plugs? One on the seat.
Hey, all right, guys, let's go home. Everything will be in the magazine. The test will be called.
Scrambler, please accept our very best regards. Goodbye for now. We are truly sorry for any inconvenience or trouble we may have caused. We assure you that we absolutely will not do this again in the future, and we have learned from this experience.
Yes.